Hello everyone, today we are diving into the most scandalous, enduring and politically charged mystery in all of ancient Chinese history. The true paternity of Qin Shi Huang, the man who unified China, built the Great Wall's early segments, standardized writing and currency, and became the first emperor in Chinese civilization. For more than 2,200 years, people have whispered, debated, and argued over one explosive question. Was Qin Shi Huang actually the illegitimate son of LV Buwei, the brilliant merchant and political mastermind, rather than the legitimate heir of Qing's royal prince, Ying Yiren? This is not just a tabloid-style historical gossip. It is a story of high-stakes, political gambling, strict royal lineage rules, conflicting ancient texts, and deliberate posthumous smears designed to delegitimize one of the most powerful rulers the world has ever known. We are not here for folktales or cheap drama. We are here for strict, peer-reviewed historical accuracy, breaking down every piece of evidence, every logical flaw, and every hidden motive behind this millennia-old rumor. Let us set the scene in the late Warring States period, a time of endless warfare, shifting alliances, and cutthroat political intrigue. The state of Qin was rising relentlessly, but its royal family was tangled in complex succession struggles. Ying Yiren, later known as King Zhuangxiang of Qin, was a minor prince, sent to the state of Zhao as a hostage or zhizi. Hostage princes were often neglected, low in the line of succession, and living in constant fear. If Qin attacked Zhao Ying, Yiren would likely be executed as revenge. He was poor, isolated, and powerless, a forgotten pawn in the brutal game of statecraft. Enter LV Buwei, a wealthy merchant from Yangdi, who had amassed a huge fortune trading across states. LV Buwei was not just a businessman. He was a political visionary who saw something no one else did in the desperate Ying Yiren. He famously called Ying Yiren a rare commodity worth hoarding, a once-in-a-lifetime investment that could buy him unlimited power in the state of Qin. This was the most audacious political bet in ancient history. LV Buwei spent his entire fortune to lobby Qin's royal court, win over the influential crown princess Huayang, who had no sons, and convince her to adopt Ying Yiren as her heir. Every step was a gamble with death. One wrong move, and LV Buwei would face treason charges, while Ying Yiren would be killed by Zhao or abandoned by Qin. Now, the core of the mystery comes from the Shiji, or records of the Grand Historian, written by Sima Qian, the father of Chinese historiography. What makes this case so confusing is that Sima Qian left us two completely contradictory accounts in the same book. In the Annals of Qin Shi Huang, the official formal section of the Shiji, dedicated to the Emperor, Sima Qian writes clearly and without ambiguity, Qin Shi Huang was the son of King Zhuangxiang of Qin. When King Zhuangxiang was a hostage in Zhao, he saw Li Buwei's concubine, took her as his wife, and gave birth to Shi Huang. This is the official royal record, straight from Qin's own historical archives, the version that the Qin court accepted as absolute truth. But in the biography of LV Buwei, a more anecdotal, story-driven section, Sima Qian tells a very different tale. He writes that LV Buwei had a beautiful, talented dancing girl from Handan Zhao, with whom he was living, and who was already pregnant. When Ying Yiren saw the girl at a feast hosted by LV Buwei, he fell in love and asked for her. LV Buwei was initially angry, but he had already spent everything on Ying Yiren, so he decided to go along with the request. The concubine hid her pregnancy, and after a full-term pregnancy, she gave birth to a son named Qin Shi Huang. This single, conflicting passage has spawned 2,000 years of myth. But before we buy into this dramatic conspiracy, we must test it against three unshakable pillars of historical truth: medical fact, Qin's rigid royal institutions, and basic political logic. Let us start with the medical evidence, which alone destroys the illegitimacy rumor. Sima Qian uses the term da qi in both accounts, which, in ancient Chinese terminology, means a full-term normal pregnancy, roughly 10 months, by Warring States calculations, matching modern human gestation periods. Modern obstetrics tells us that a human pregnancy cannot be concealed for months, and then result in a perfectly healthy full-term birth. If Zhao Ji had already been pregnant by LV Buwei when she was given to Ying Yiren, she would have given birth long before the full term, and the premature birth would have been obvious to everyone around Ying Yiren. Even more importantly, a pregnancy extended well beyond the normal term would result in a severely disabled or stillborn infant. Yet, Qin Shi Huang was known for his extraordinary physical stamina, mental sharpness, and ability to rule for decades, traveling across his vast empire and handling relentless state affairs. There is no trace of the health issues that would come from an abnormal, concealed pregnancy. This is not a minor detail. It is a biological impossibility that invalidates the core of the rumor. Next, we turn to the ironclad institutional safeguards of Qin's royal lineage, which make this conspiracy logistically impossible. The state of Qin, transformed by Shang Yang's legalist reforms, was one of the most bureaucratic, rule-bound societies in the ancient world. Royal marriages, the status of concubines, and the birth of royal heirs were not private matters. They were monitored, documented, and verified by multiple official bodies. When a prince like Ying Yiren took a wife or concubine, there was a strict process called Qin Shi, or verification of virginity and non-pregnancy, before the woman entered the prince's household. Attendants, imperial physicians, and royal clan officials all oversaw this process to protect the purity of the royal bloodline. The Qin royal clan was massive, powerful, and obsessed with lineage. They would never tolerate a prince passing off a merchant's illegitimate child as a royal heir, especially when that child was in line for the throne. Ying Yiren had more than 20 brothers, many of whom were eager to seize the throne. If there had been even a hint of doubt about Qin Shi Huang bloodline, these rival princes would have used it to destroy him immediately. Yet throughout Qin Shi Huang's childhood, his rise to crown prince, and his ascension to the throne at age 13, not a single noble official or rival ever questioned his parentage. The historical record is completely silent on any such challenge, a deafening silence that confirms his legitimacy. Then, we have Buwei's own political logic, which makes the idea of him planting his own son in the Qin royal family utterly irrational. Buwei was a cold, calculating investor who risked his entire wealth and life to make Ying Yiren king. His entire power depended on the trust of the Qin royal family and the legitimacy of the prince he had backed. To pass off his own pregnant concubine to Ying Yiren would be the single most stupid, suicidal move imaginable. The penalty for contaminating the royal bloodline was collective execution of the entire clan, death for Buwei, his family, and everyone connected to him. There was no guarantee that the child would be a boy, that the child would survive, that Ying Yiren would not discover the truth, or that the royal clan would not uncover the secret. For a man as careful and strategic as Buwei, this was not a master plan, it was a death wish. His later title as Zhongfu, or second father to Qin Shi Huang, was a political honor, not a confession of biological paternity. It reflected his role as regent and mentor to the young emperor, not a family bond. So, where did this rumor come from, and why has it survived for so long? The answer lies in political smear campaigns that began after the fall of the Qin dynasty. The Qin Empire was deeply hated by the nobles of the 6 conquered states, who had lost their power, lands, and privileges. After Qin collapsed, and the Han dynasty rose to power, Han rulers and scholars had a strong incentive to delegitimize Qin Shi Huang. Portraying him as an illegitimate merchant son, not a true Qin royal, made his conquests seem unlawful, his reign a usurpation, and the fall of Qin a just correction of history. Sima Qian, writing under the Han dynasty, included both the official royal account and the popular rumor in the Shiji to preserve all available sources, not because he believed the rumor was true. Over centuries, the dramatic salacious story was far more appealing to storytellers, poets, and common people than the dry factual truth of legitimate royal birth. Folk tales distorted the historical record, turning a political smear into a global historical myth. Mainstream historians worldwide, including leading Chinese scholars like Li Kaiyuan, Yang Quan, and Xin Deyang, as well as Western sinologists such as Michael Lowy and John Knobloch, unanimously reject the illegitimacy theory. They confirm that Qin Shi Huang was the biological and legal son of Ying Yiren, King Zhuangxiang of Qin, and a legitimate member of the Qin royal clan. The rumor is a classic example of how political propaganda, dramatic storytelling, and historical misunderstanding can twist the truth beyond recognition. It tells us more about how people want to see powerful rulers, flawed, secretive, and bound by scandal, than it does about the actual life of Qin Shi Huang. This mystery also reveals a deeper truth about history. We are often drawn to the most sensational stories, even when they contradict hard evidence. We love tales of secret conspiracies and hidden bloodlines, but real history is built on documents, institutions, medical facts, and logical consistency. The story of Qin Shi Huang's rise is not a cheap soap opera of paternity secrets. It is a story of a prince rescued from obscurity, a merchant who invented modern political lobbying, a kingdom unified against all odds, and a dynasty that shaped China for millennia. The truth is less scandalous, but far more epic. Qin Shi Huang, was the rightful heir of Qin, a man whose ambition and cruelty changed the course of human civilization, not a secret illegitimate son of a merchant. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient China, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more epic history. See you next time.